नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्.
Should we do the whole set? Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunah Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yas Chandasa Vrishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyodhyamrita Sambhabhuva Samendro Medhaya Aspranotu Amritasya Devadharano Bhuyasam Shariram Me Vicharshanam Jihva Me Madhumattama Karnabhyam Bhuri Vishruvam Brahmanav Koshosi Medhaya Pihitaha Shrutam Me Gopaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Aham Vrikshasya Reviva Kirtiv Prishtam Gireviva Urdhva Pavitro Vajiniva Swamritamasmi Dravinagum Savachasam Sumedha Amritokshitaha Iti Grishankor Vedanuvachanam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Abhyayantu mama angani Vakpranaschakshuh shrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam Me Astu Tadatmani Nirate Upanishadsu Dharma Te Mai Santu Te Mai Santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vang Me Manasi Pratishtita Mano Me Vachi Pratishtitam Aviravir Mahedhi Vedasya Mahani Istaha Shrutam Me Ma Prahasihi Anenaditena Ahoratran Sandadhami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. भक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं नो अपि वातयमनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्मानं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तमहदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नान्तः प्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं नो उभयतः प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनं न प्रज्ञं नाप्रज्ञं अदृष्टम् अव्यवहार्यम् अग्राह्यमलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्मप्रत्ययसारम् प्रपञ्च उपशमं शान्तम् शिवम् अद्वैतम् चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः So, quick revision of what we did last week. So, sa atma sa vijñeyaha, meaning that this is worth knowing. Atma is worth knowing. So much so that this is what is sought after by all the wise things in the whole world. Because we're not sure what we want. Some people want money. And they're very busy in accumulating, doing all that is necessary so that they do a good job of earning money, better than anyone else. Some people say money is okay, but really it's some research has to be done. We need to figure out what's happening. So some research is being done. Then, I was listening to this NPR yesterday. They have on Fridays they have a scientific section at about from 11 o'clock. It's very fascinating. So this whole section was upon analysis of what happens to the pigeons when they live in the cities. Just an amazing. So what they have figured it out is that there are some ecological effects on the pigeon population based on, the kind of food that they eat in the urban environment as opposed to a rural environment. And so this whole thing was analyzed on that. Somebody has written a book on it. They've spent the whole lifetime. And what they have figured out is that the color of their wings changes. And why that happens is explained in the book. Fascinating, really. Anyway, so there are people who think that this is worth knowing. This is something that should be done. Other people think that, really politics, I want to be the top of the world. So there are different things that people want. So if you were to try to ascertain what is it that you should know, which is really the top of the heap, worth knowing, it is yourself. Amazing. Sa atma sa vijñeya. Why? You should see the logic of this. This is the important thing. Because suppose you are employed in gaining something which is relative, like the pigeon thing, or money, or fame, or politics, or something. You get some fleeting joy out of that, no doubt about it. But how long is it going to last? Compared to that, the understanding of the Atma is something where it does not go away, because it is your own Svarupa. So it never will go away. So the sense of accomplishment and therefore the joys resulting from it, not all accomplishments give joy, but most do. But out of all of them, this is the most important one. And this is the reason why all the Devatas, all the Mahapurushas, all the Agni, Varunaha, and Prithvi, all the Devatas, they all want to know the Atma. Same Atma. Same Atma that you and I have. Sarvatmakatvam. Anyway, this is worth knowing. And this is a great secret and a great puzzle, really. Here as it is something that is the most well sought after. And I just completely ignore it. It's like a big, huge amount of money in me, and I don't use it at all. It's a very funny situation, really. This is how powerful the avidya, the Maya Shakti is. That despite the most important thing to be sought after, it remains hidden by people. I was reading this commentary by Swami Maheshananji in the 7th chapter of the Panchadashi. So he was, this is Vidyaranya's, Swami Vidyaranya's definition. So there is a word called Pamara, which you may have heard about. So Pamara means the normal person, means a Prakrita person, uneducated, just a normal person. It's called Pamara. And so, as you know, in the Sanskritam, every word has a meaning. Now, you just may not know about it. There are a couple of them that are Rudhi. Rudhi Artha means that just from usage, you can just begin to understand it, like Rama. So Rama has both a Rudhi Artha as well as a Vyutpatti Artha. Vyutpatti Artha means the one which is based on some etymological, and most of the words, almost all the words in Sanskrit are etymologically pure. You have to derive it from some sources. So the word Pamara is supposed to be a Rudhi Artha. In Hindi they say, wo to sirf Pamar log hain. Means that it is just an ordinary person. The Vyutpatti Artha of Pamara, Mara means one which is going to die. Marana yogyaha iti means one which is going to collapse pretty soon, some or the other. It may last for a while, but it's not going to last. Pa means the one who is devoted to. So here's a situation. By not knowing the Atma, I am fully involved in doing things that are not going to last. And this is a sad situation. We have so much potential, so much energy, that if we simply redirect it to something in the pursuit of Amara instead of Mara. And this is an interesting, this is a very detailed analysis given by Swami Vidyaranya on, so this is the true meaning of Mananam, and in fact I think I'll defer talking about it in the small talk that I will give in the next session. But the whole meaning of Mananam is really because our issues are, why is it that the study of Vedanta is not yet fully fruitful for me? This is a very common thing. And so as we have talked about it, the study of Vedanta requires some very systematic, because it is because of the fact that I don't appreciate this huge Atma that I have, which everybody seeks. The reason for that is that I am not looking at it systematically. So Shravana means I have a complete understanding of why is it, what is the Aviveka, what is Viveka, what needs to be done, all that. But then comes Mananam. The Mananam here, Swami Vidyaranya explains in great series of texts, consists of the fact that I have to be fully devoted to Amara instead of Mara. And there are 4 portions to that. I will mention that in my next class, and we will perhaps take it in great deal of. So in some ways, if we get some frustration many times that there's some progress I'm making, but not enough. The reason is that I have not employed all the tools that are necessary for Mananam. There are 4 of them that we will go into. So anyway, just to go back to it, it's just that the discovery and the absorption, the gaining of the Amara, which is Atma, requires a lot of work, and we should be prepared for doing that. More work that is used by people for doing Pamara. So Pamara means that, so the examples are that you have people who are working so hard to gain money. We need to work extra hard to gain the Atma. There's no difference. The only difference is the money is apraptasya praptihi and Atma is praptasya praptihi. But the fact of the matter is that it is equally unattainable, or attained, not attainable, but equally unattained because of my neglect and so on and so forth. Anyway, so just some commentary on Sa Atma Sa Vigneya. So this we did last week. Then the other thing that we did last week, and I'll just mention it and then go on to some new material, and that is that when you say na antah pragyam na bahish pragyam na ubhata pragyam, not this, not this, not this, the only way this negation makes sense is if the person that you are trying, a person or vastu means, you call it a thing, but here the vastu is chetana vastu, so you cannot call it a thing, but an entity, some kind of English word you have to use. That's why in Sanskritam it's used called vastu. So vastu doesn't mean tables, it means a chetana vastu, a conscious person. So the conscious person, the only way the negation will make sense if the conscious person is present right before you. Because we saw this last week. Because if you are saying, who's the governor of California? This is the question. Somebody says, hey, who's the governor of California? You'll say, oh, the governor of California is not the governor of New York. Okay, how much wiser am also it is not the senator from New Mexico. And then I'm saying, okay. And then you give a long list. The list is infinite. At the end of that, you still don't know who the governor of California is. Doesn't make any sense at all. So in negation, doesn't make any sense if the vastu is not in front of you. But if the vastu is in front of you, then it is possible that you may need to distinguish it from some other things that confuses people. And of course, the classical, this is why that example is so important, the rope and the snake. We saw that last week also, just to quickly revise it. The best way to tell someone that you made a mistake is not to do it remotely. Because if someone says, I am scared, I think that thing on the corner of this room, I think it's a snake. It's really so funny because every time, so we have, where I live in Los Altos Hills, you see, I don't see that many, but I see about 4 or 5 a year, snakes. And some of them are actually dead on the road because the car passes over it. So just this morning also, there was a branch of a tree that had fallen down. And it was kind of like, it was not completely curved, but it was. And so I had to sort of, when I was passing by, it was on the other lane, I said, is this a snake? And then I said, no, it's not moving. And it's just a branch. Because, I think I told you this, that I found one in my garage. This is like about 7-8 years ago. And from that on, I'm a little curious, cautious, because they're all around there somewhere. And so this example of the rope and snake, if someone had a fear that there is a snake in the corner of the room, and even if the person who knows that it is not a snake, it is a rope, cannot effectively point that out remotely. You say, oh, that one I think is a rope. That doesn't really help the person because he's really gotten scared. So the best thing is to say, come with me. Okay. Is this what you thought is a snake? So he says, yes, this is not a snake. This is not a snake. This is the most effective way of pointing out a mistake of an existing vastu. So what this means is, na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, etc. means that the Atma is existing right in front of you. Really, ultimately, not even in front of you, but here and now. It is not as though, because what we do, our bereft of other things, we postpone it. We postpone it. And it also becomes experiential. Like, for example, supposing you go to a Tirtha Sthanam, and there you have this beautiful feeling. I went to this mandir, and then this is why that some of these temples, etc., are way out in the top of the hills. So you go through a lot of effort to get there. And it's all worth it. You say it's Shraddha, and so on and so forth. But when you go there, then you feel, I am so blessed. You have a feeling of fullness and Advaitam. It's really just yourself, but that is the feeling that you have. And then when you come back, pretty soon that feeling is lost. So you want to regain it by saying we must go there again. So really speaking, the Atma is postponed. You think that it has to be done when I'm doing something later. It is here now. And I just miss it because I don't have the tools to identify it. So the tools to identify are given in this mantra. Na bahishpragyam, na antapragyam, na ubhayatapragyam, etc. We saw all of that. Then we ended up with na pragyam, na apragyam. So if you remember, na pragyam means not the conscious people, not even me, the conscious person. Not even that. That is the ultimate negation that I have to see. I can negate everything else, but I am not ready to I don't know how to negate myself. Because it's the common element of my entire experience of life is myself as a person. And I don't know how to negate that. And I'm not sure, why I should negate it. All those kinds of things come in. Anyway, so the pragyam here means the conscious person. So, in fact, it's interesting, another way to look at this, just of the word pragyam, just to look at that. And we are studying this in the Panchadashi Tuesday night class also, where we said the material cause and the efficient cause. Remember, those are the two things that we were talking about, and we also have studied it here as well elsewhere. So just to reiterate on this point, in the in the Srishti, the creation of Ishvara, there are two elements that are given. One element is the seer, the person who cognizes things. And the other one is what you cognize, the world that you see. So the world that you see is through the material cause. And the person that sees the material is the efficient cause. So the seeingness, which is a reflection of Ishvara's seeingness, the seeingness is the me. And the seenness, what is seen, is the world. So here, in pointing out, in fact, it's interesting, there's another way to look at it. So when you say, so na anta, let's finish the whole thing. Na anta pragya means the mental things that you see. So in the dream, etc., or in your own thinking also. That is called anta pragya. Na bahish pragya. I mean, what you see is to be outside, that also is not there. Now ubhayata pragya means some kind of a midway in between, just before you are fully awake and you are not asleep anymore. You are not that also. Na pragyanaganam means that complete ignorance at night time also you are not there. Then na pragyam means not the person who is cognizing everything. And na pragyam means, na apragyam means not the inner things that are not tables and chairs and so on. You are not that, obviously. So the whole thing is just negated. This is the instruction of identification of the Atma. Atma is something which is, so here, this is interesting, in the Hindi commentary that Swami Maheshananji has given, he has a very particular methodology. he first explains in a simple language without Shankara Bhashya. Then he goes into the commentary based on Shankara Bhashya. Very elaborate. I think in mantra number 7, 244. Oh, I thought it's less than that. Okay. To 301. This is how much he devotes to this. So in the, and we won't have time to do all of that, so I'll just do the first part, which is what we did. I'll bring it, some aspects of it. So in the Shankara Bhashya, on this point, na pragyam, etc., it is not that, it is not this, it is not there. Then Shankara asks, Shunyam tat? That means there is nothing there. Because whatever you say, whatever your experience is, whatever you see, it is not there. Means there is nothing. And especially when you come to the next one, adrishtam avyavaharyam, you cannot see it, you cannot transact with it. I'll go into that in a minute. No. This is the beauty of it. Because it is in fact the common thing amongst all of them, turiya. And so this is the identification of the Atma. I'm so used to looking at things as an object that when I don't see it, it looks like it is not there. But I fail to recognize that I am the very Atma which gives rise to a sense of seeing, not seeing, everything, right here in front of me. And I just miss it. And so these are the instructions on how not to miss it. Anyway, so we've done that much we have done so far last week. Let's go now ahead. So na pragyam, adrishtam. So adrishtam means that my sense organs are incapable of grasping it. Sense organs. Because the sense organs are meant for identifying things that are drishtam, that are seen, felt, and so on. But if you don't have the right sense organ for identifying something, then it'll never grasp it. The example given is that, for example, you cannot see air and wind through your eyes. You cannot see it. The eyes are a very capable, in fact, the most important thing for us to identify. Just like, when you say, was that person there? And then you say, yes. Really? I'm not sure. Sometimes it happens when you go to a social get-together and the husband and wife both come and somebody says, hey, did you see that person? He was there. And he says, no, I didn't see it. Are you sure? He says, yes, I saw it with my own eyes. So the eyes are a definite pramana for seeing someone. The air, the eyes fail. For air, you have to have a sense of touch. Or you have to have some kind of a lingam, some chinnam where the tree is moving. Then you can say, yes, there is some wind. But directly you cannot see it. So similarly, just like you cannot see the air with your eyes, here you cannot see it with any of the 5 sense organs. Any of them. They are not capable of doing it. They are not meant to do it. So, adrishtam. Then avyavaharyam. Avyavaharyam means it cannot be transacted. So here Swami Maheshananji gives a very beautiful explanation for that. He says, for transactions, in Hindi what is called lena dena. You take something and you give something, lena dena. So he says that is not possible, because in Sanskritam it is called adana and pradana. Lena dena in Sanskritam is adana and pramana and pradana. This is not possible for the Atma. Why? Because in vyavahara, in transactions, you give something to someone that the person doesn't already have. And in taking something from someone, you take something that you don't have. Both of these are not possible. Because somebody is holding a pencil, and then you say, I give you a pencil. He says, no, I don't need a pencil, I already have it. So transactions in a case where there is already something present is not possible. So when you cannot give Atma to someone because the person already has the Atma, is the Atma. And you cannot take Atma from someone else because you already are the Atma. Avyavaharyam, not possible. Then the next one is agrahyam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam. So agrahyam means here that perhaps the sense organs are not involved, but I can grasp the meaning of something. I can grasp the concept of something. And, by the way, going back to avyavaharyam for a minute, it doesn't say, there's a distinction made in avyavaharyam before we go to agrahyam. Sorry, but I didn't complete it. So avyavaharyam doesn't mean that it means that you cannot give it to someone or to take it from someone, but by using it you give something to someone. You cannot have the act of giving unless Atma is involved. So you don't give the Atma, but you depend upon the Atma to give to someone. So this is exactly what we have to see. In fact, this is Swami Maheshwaranji was pointing it out so clearly, and all of our acharyas. I'm just giving his examples because these are language that I'm using. So he was pointing out, it's very interesting, that really, sometimes we feel that experiences are this is beyond experience. Atma is beyond the experience, which it is beyond the experience. But if the derivative of this statement is that Atma is beyond experiences, if by that derivative you mean, please ignore your experiences, it is something different from that, then you are not utilizing the instructions very carefully. How? In fact, the discovery of the Atma is best done during experiences. How? So when you see something, at that time you have to say, who is seeing? How am I able to see it? What are the factors for me to see something? How is the image entering my mind? How is the image entering the eye? How is it? Who am I seeing? And if I shift my attention from this scene to that scene, is my seingness affected or only the scene is affected? So Swami Maheshwaranji points out that experiences are very important in order for you to see yourself in the experience. You cannot say this is not relevant for me. Experiences are not. I should close my eyes and just meditate. Not necessary. It helps to close your eyes and you can see I am still the seer. And you open your eyes and say I am still the same seer. That is okay. So by doing this is a very important thing. You do not simply limit the search for the Atma for a few short minutes during the day, as though the rest of the day is completely irrelevant for me. No. You continue to transact with the world, but deep down below, you're thinking, whatever is necessary, you're cooking, you're talking, you're whatever it is you're doing, that's still okay. You don't need to really change anything. But deep down below in all of the transactions, you have to see the source of seeing, the method of seeing. All of that needs to be analyzed. When you do that, you begin to grasp. So when we say adrishtam, cannot be seen, it means it cannot be seen as an object which is dismissible. And so this is the method of identifying what is there today, but not identified with me. I don't have the habit of understanding it. I don't have the tools to understand it. Anyway, so go on. Adrishtam. I think the clock is totally wrong. It's already close to 8:45. Adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam. So agrahyam means that perhaps I can grasp it with some with my mind based on what has been seen before. So I can understand the concept of it. Why? Because I have seen other things. And in fact, these two words are linked together. Agrahyam, alakshanam. Alakshanam and agrahyam means here that, so for example, the typical case is that if you see a black smoke, then from your experience you know there is a fire. A child will not know that, but you have to grow up to understand that a white smoke may not mean fire. In fact, a white smoke doesn't mean fire, because the fire gives carbon particles that makes the whole thing non-white. But if you have a black smoke, dark smoke, then this is what is called lingam. Wherever there is a smoke, there is a fire. So, agrahyam and alingam, alakshanam is the same as alingam, means that there is you cannot, even though you do not see it by your eyes, you can say perhaps based on my previous experience, this is what it is. No. Because it has no lakshana per se. And another one then is achintyam. Achintyam means one which can be meditated on. That perhaps I can think of some concepts and then slowly I can meditate on it. I remember my father, his family, in fact he himself was not that devoted, but his whole family are students of Radhaswami. So the Radhaswami Mutt is, they have two aspects, one in Agra and one in Beas in Punjab. And it's a lot of people. In fact, here in this area, there are huge, adherents of that. So my father's family was following it. My father was never really into it. When he married my mom, who was from Arya Samaj, she took to it, and she was very fond of Radha Swami. She was not go to all the satsangs and so on, but she had a lot of value for it. So they gave me some books to read also from there, seeing that I would also get involved with it. And I never really did for whatever reason, but one thing I remember so well is what are the symptoms where you will begin to see Atma, Paramatma. I don't think they would use the word Atma. I don't even know. I have to go back and double check it. But when you become self-realized, what is it? And I still remember that in one of the pages it says you will see a blue light. And after the study of Vedanta, we said, this is not right. You don't see any blue light. You may have some kind of an experience which is good, but really speaking, Atma has no light, no blueness, no achintyam. You cannot meditate on it that way. This is not what it is. What it is will come later on, but at this point, this is not what it is. And in fact, what will come later on is briefly hinted with avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyaya saram. And so we did the avyapadeshyam last week, remember? And we said that it cannot be taught in the tradition. This is why it is so difficult. It cannot be taught in a normal method. You cannot talk about it. The more you talk about it, the less intelligible it gets. I gave you the example that both Swami Maheshananji and Swami Dayanandji, they both they demonstrate this so well. And Swami Maheshananji, first Swami Maheshananji he's saying that when I go to the satsangs, then, in fact, he gave examples of some from other places before we coming to the satsang. So there was a Raja. The whole our old history is full of stories of kings who are very dharmic, who are very religious, and they want to know what is the truth about it. That I'm the king of this whole place, but this is not giving me complete satisfaction. What else do I need to know? So he went to a Mahatma, this Raja's story goes, and said, please tell me about the Atma. So he talked about this, that or the other and so on. But he says, you're never telling me very clearly about the Atma. So the Mahatma will just be quiet. So he says, what is it? Don't you like me? I'm asking you. He said, sir, I am telling you, but you're not grasping it. It is complete silence. Mauna Vyakya. And now to go back to Swami Dayanandji's our satsangs and so on and so forth. And it happens even, in the satsang. What will happen is that after a class, sometimes, in the PRC ashram, we'll have a class, and then after the class, then we'll all assemble at Swamiji's. And my wife and I we were very lucky because we had a cottage right next to where he was living. And so we lived with him for 2 years. It was that wonderful. And so we had a lot of attraction of being in Swamiji's cottage. One was to just see the satsang after the class, and the other one was right after the satsang, then Swamiji will eat his own food. And so my wife and I, we would not eat the cafeteria food, and we will actually go and eat Swamiji's food. And so we were very attracted. We were just hanging around him all the time. And in those satsangs, after the class, there was silence. Silence because just by being silent and having been educated on the meaning of the silence, that was communication. He smiled at us and we smiled back at him. In that satsang, sometimes there will be some visitors who were visiting the ashram for a couple of days, or who just came in from, we were pretty far away, so people wouldn't drop in. We were 200 miles north of San Francisco, so we would have to drive up quite a bit. So we were somewhat isolated in that sense. But still, there were a lot of visitors. Those visitors, when they come to the same satsang, will get fidgety. There's nothing happening here. I came all the way from San Francisco. Then I was hoping that he would say something. And here they're all sitting quietly, smiling at each other. This is the meaning of avyapadeshyam. Avyapadeshyam means you cannot directly talk about it. Okay, let me show you the Atma. You have to build it up and have a background. Oh, it is not this, it is then what it is. Without this, nothing happens. All of that has to be looked into. And then finally, you are that. And so, this is the meaning of avyapadeshyam, that it cannot be directly pointed out and talked about in that manner. And in fact, only thing to say here is, now we are running out of time, so ekatma pratyaya saram. Ekatma pratyaya saram means you simply see the commonness between all experiences. Pratyaya saram, yes, Atma, me, this is me, this is I. And this I, you will see when we understand it, when we fully understand it, non-changes between any outside experience or no experience. Doesn't make any difference. Always there. Never born, never starting. This is the meaning of ekatma pratyaya saram. Means all the same thing, I, me. I fail to see it. Why? Because I'm so used to be involved in the experiences. Anyway, so we'll continue on this. Which is in the nature of prapancha upashamam. Which is the nature of shantam. So shantam here, as I explained before, is the quietness, the maunam, the silence, and not silence which is misconstrued as boredom. Not that. Because the silence may actually have some elements of disquiet in it. This is why, for example, when you call, this is why all these marketeers know it. So when you say, we are very busy right now, you called us at a very busy time, but do not hang up. Please stay on the line. So you say, okay, I'll stay on the line. Then the music starts. Because the marketeers also know that if you are silent, you get bored. And you're going to hang up finally. Say, I cannot do this anymore. I'll call up some other time. So in the meantime, and they've got a huge challenge, what kind of music to give these people? I go to this gym for my exercise. weird music. But they play it because it must be relevant for someone. So, but anyway, the silence is not that kind of a silence. It is a silence of satisfaction, of joy. And not momentary joy, but just the very nature of joy. So this is what is meant by Shantam, which is nothing but Shivam. Anyway, more to talk about that, so we're running out of time. We'll hopefully complete it very regularly, very shortly after this, next week. Well, not next week, whenever we meet next, after 3 weeks. Then we will begin the revision of the Karikas from that point on. Okay. Om Swasti Prajabhyav Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahimahishah Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Vakshatu Parjanyaha Rituri Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirmaya Sarve Samantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhabhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityu Ma Amritangamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. All right, it is 9 o'clock.